Good afternoon and welcome to today's webinar. My name's Charles Green and I'm part of the marketing team here at Bellatrix Software, and I'm going to be your host today. Firstly, thank you all for taking the time out of your day to join this call. And today we're going to be discussing probably the #1 priority for organizations in 2018, and that is digital transformation. Now, this is a topic that brings together elements of the latest digital technologies, developing new business processes, and creating powerful and compelling customer experiences. Now, Bellatrix, for those of you not familiar with us, is an innovation-focused company. We offer what we call innovation services on demand, as we help our clients shape their concepts and ideas into world-class software products. And we've been working with many of our clients in their digital transformations, ranging from major financial organizations to insurance companies to retail companies as well. And in today's call, we want to share some of these experiences and the best practices of what we've learned when working with some of these organizations. And to help me do that, I'm delighted to be joined by my colleague, Alexis Wong. Alexis, do you want to introduce yourself?
Hello, everyone. Thank you for having the time to share this moment with us. I'll try to share all my experience and some of the best practices me and my team applied in these last projects. So actually, I'm working in Bellatrix for about 3 years, a little bit more maybe, and my role is an agile leadership, an agile leader, and the way this webinar is going to go is I'm sorry, can we move forward to the next slide, please? So next slide, please. Okay, so the way this webinar is going to go is applying the golden circle structure. We're going to start with the what is digital transformation. Then we walk through how can we implement that, and then is the final and the most important question is the why. But we will get it there soon. So next slide, please. We're starting, as I said, with the what. So this is the context. Right now, every process, every company is going digital, is moving forward digital. There are a lot of items and like tools and new tools, new applications, new facilities appearing into the market that are becoming a kind of improved life, okay, are changing the way we behave, we act day by day. So an example for that is like Amazon Go, where you can actually go for shopping and you don't have to pay in a registry check. Also, you have Alexa. Is like this big speaker that can control everything in your house and let you know and let you do actions such as scheduling a calendar or registering some information that you may have that you may need in your work at work. I'm sorry. Also, the Apple Watch and other devices that are changing the way we behave day by day. So this is the context worldwide, the worldwide context. The next slide, please. So in Peru, we do have new applications as well that are changing the way we act day by day. There is this application Yape by one of the most important banks here in Peru. There is that allow us to have transactions between people without needing the bank account of each one. You just need to know the phone number. Okay. There's also some other applications that allow us to reserve like a table in a restaurant, a fancy restaurant, and can give us access to promotions and something like that. So there's a lot of impact in the way people do the things day by day, and also there's an impact on the satisfaction about how we provide them our services. Next slide, please. So we always have this big challenge, and this has like marked the IT brand in a long time. Is this huge difference between what the client needs and what the client says or tell us that he wants or she wants. So usually the need change along the time, and we never at times before we couldn't never get to like provide them what they really need. They really need it. Okay, so the customer told us, I don't know, I want like this big car, this big fancy car, but maybe the reality of his country and also the reality of his budget and the purpose of this transport medium wasn't too much accurate to have like a big fancy car. Maybe that the only thing that he needed is actually a bike. So this big difference is what actually always has been a challenge for us in the IT brand. Next slide, please. So when it comes to digital transformation, this actually evolves the way we work, like aligning all the needs from the customer and letting us as businesses transform our processes and introduce new technologies. This in order to reinvent our businesses and also to generate new opportunities and new channels to provide better products and better services to the customer. And this is the concept in a high level. Next slide, please. This is only, this is not only because of there is a trend on digital transformation and everyone should go over there, but it also consists on the competition that is evolving. Okay, so companies that aren't in the same brand are actually competing between them. You don't get to compete only between restaurants or between banks, but with all kind of companies, because of the satisfaction level of the customer impacts in every way. The way we manage our social networks, the way we get answers to our customers, we provide answers to our customers. The way we fix some problems and the time we spend fixing them, and how the customer understands this process is really important. It's not only the product or the service, but the whole solution, the whole operating system behind it. Next slide, please. So in order to apply this digital transformation, we need to innovate. Okay, and innovation is nothing more than creating something new, or changing or transforming something, and adding a lot of value, different value to the customer, so the customer can understand and feels like safe and happy of using our service or our product. Next slide, please. Along the time, we have seen several businesses that have gone bankrupt or disappeared because they didn't have the vision of innovation. So innovation is a critical part here. It's not like a need for only software or technology businesses, but for all. Okay, so we had Blockbuster, this huge video rental business, and actually Netflix offering them like a fusion proposal, but they didn't accept because they say we dominate the market. This is our market, and there's no way internet can left us behind. But we already know what happens, right? The same with BlackBerry versus the smartphones, and actually right now there's evolving a new market like these big shopping centers, but virtual shopping centers. There's no need. In some countries, it's already implemented as some countries. I think Japan and maybe Chile has this that success case of panels, big panels with products and code and barcodes, when you can go with your phone and scan the barcode, and the product that you scanned is delivered to your home. You don't need to go to the market. So if you forgot to buy something, then you go to these panels that are in bus stops and maybe the train station and something like that. You see the milk, you see the sugar, you take the photo to the code bar, and press buy, and the items are delivered to your home. So innovation is critical to keep in the market, to keep the business in the market. Next slide, please. So the big question, what should we do? If we move forward, we'll understand that UX has become one of the key values of this innovation, of this being like in the market along the time. UX is nothing more than user experience. It refers to how the user feels with a product or service along the experience, not only by using it, but how they understand the product without a manual, how they feel that they naturally flow along the application or the solution. Next slide, please. But this is not the whole thing, the whole picture. We need to go one step further, okay? So customer experience is a higher level that involves also user experience, but it also considers the way the whole functional areas of your company supports this application or service. So we're talking about the support area, the monitoring, the community manager, how the petitions or new features are received from the customer, and how they are introduced to be developed into new features to your solution or your service. So what is really bothering us? Next slide, please. What if we put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer? Can we go to the next slide, please? So if we put ourselves in the shoes of the consumer, if we empathize with them, what are they really looking for? Okay, if we have as consultants, as agile coaches or scrum masters or user experience designers, or whatever role you have in your company of innovation, if we put ourselves in the shoes of the customer, what kind of business we think we are on? Let's have a little think about that. Let's think a little about that. So Steve Jobs said you should start with the experience and then proceed with the creation of the technology, and not the other way around. So we used to think that we know what the customer wants. We develop the technology, and then we get to the customer and see if they liked it. So I think, and it's kind of very clear right now that we've been working backwards. Okay, we should be starting with the customer and having them all along the process of the development of the solution or of the technology. Next slide, please. So what we actually conclude with this question, with which business are we on? We are in the business of people, because we work with people, because we work for people. And the more important things are their thoughts, their beliefs, their feelings, their happiness. We're talking about our collaborators as a company, and we're talking about our customers as a provider of solutions or products. So how we can implement this? First of all, we need to understand that it's very important to have the CEO, the strategic level company, or I'm sorry, the strategic level support, okay, they need to support this transformation, and because this kind of change that impacts all the areas of the organization are not won't be able to happen if we don't have the CEO or the strategic level support. So we need to set up then an effective team that will deliver that will empower this belief and contagious to the lower levels, to the teams, to the delivery areas, to the IT department, to the marketing department, etc., etc. And this will be our first team. This group of managers will become our innovation center of excellence. Next slide, please. Then we'll go through a training. Next slide, please. Then we'll walk through a training to these leaders or managers, so they can understand what Agile means, why Agile works together with transformation, why Agile provides a better solution, a better way to go to start the transformation and to implement the transformation. This basically consists in a 2-day training that let the leaders or managers understand the mindset of Lean Agile, some of the principles, experiment what is a release planning, some of the values, etc., etc. Then the second day we'll have to walk through the culture way of the teams and some of the abilities of Lean Agile and techniques or tools to apply in each area. So some of the tools are those that we're seeing right now in stream. Will be the dashboards, the Kanban boards. Maybe they're familiar to most of you. So these boards let us understand very in a visible way in which state is each team, what are they working on, what are the impediments they have, the blockers, and some other indicators that are key to our implementation. Another set of tools maybe are dashboards. Can we move forward, please? So as we say, as I was telling you, the dashboard and some whiteboards, markers and post-its and tools like that will let you to be more coordinated with your team members, to express in a very visible way the work that you're doing, and some of the indicators of your team. Next slide, please. The next step will be to define your playbook. So this will be a new area of work. Okay, so this is a new arm from your organization, a new hand. It's completely new, and there's no experience from the people working there. They don't know nothing about this new area. So what you will have to define will be a playbook that will become like your Bible. A playbook defines the purpose of the area. What are they here? What are they in the location that they are, in the moment that they are? What is the purpose? What is the mission? What's the vision? Secondly, you will have the product card or the flag. There is like the way all the team members identify themselves as a team. So I put the example of a flag because how else which is the better way to define you as a team? Maybe using as an example for those who love soccer, maybe your country flag in a tournament is the best way to represent yourself as a team. So this is the same in an organization that is totally not agile. So when you go ahead and walk through these all bureaucratic areas and put your flag on. It's like, hey, we're here and we're here to cause some impact. Then we work through the don'ts list. So we usually know what is in our scope, but we almost never mention what is out of scope. It's really important to understand that, to avoid that people asking, are we going to do that, or is not in the first of all requirements, or our bad luck, and also what things are going to be unresolved. Next slide, please. Then it's important to have this first meeting to present everyone around your new area, every neighbor that will support you, every stakeholder that will let you and help you to be successful along this implementation. We're talking about all these business areas that are around you: security, risk, legal department, IT as well. They have their own way to do things, so you probably will need their help to integrate some information between your new applications and the legacy systems. The fifth step will be to share the solution. There's no need to have 100% defined solution, but it's important to share how this solution is evolving a long time. So this goes by the hand of a communication plan that you will have to implement. So every some other period, I don't know, talking about maybe 2 weeks or 1 month period, you will have to share how the solution is evolving, what changes have been applied in your solution, in your architecture, what new standards you are using on. So this could be like more. Also, this would let you change very quickly if some standard is not allowed in your company and something like that. Next slide, please. Okay, so the playbook, the sixth step will be the team structure. Okay, the structure basically in Agile is defined by 3 roles: the product owner that represents the business, the UX that represents the user experience specialist that know what the customer wants and needs, and the development team that developed the solution as itself, okay, and knows what is feasible to implement and what is not. So the Agile team should be and become a team of people with trust in each other. Okay, they should be a group of people that are very comfortable to ambiguity, that are flexible to changes, that love to learn continuously, and some of other values that I'll mention a little more further. Next slide, please. Then after we have all these configurations set up, we'll need to define as well the date for the first release. Okay, so this will be our first cell, our first lab, our first whatever name you want to put it, our first team of digital transformation. So we should have like a time defined for our first release or first deliverable. In our experience, a 3 months period has worked well. This because when longer the time of delivery, the higher the risk to deliver something that is not valuable to the customer, the higher the cost to change and other things. So a 3 months period should be good. So next slide, please. How do we implement this first team? Next slide, please. Okay, so the way we implement this first team is to, first of all, we need to identify the value chain from all the products or most of the products of our company, at least the products that provide us more value, that has the lower cost. We consider also the development cost of this new implementation, the risk of this change, and after some economic analysis of those aspects, we select the one that would provide us the higher impact in the organization, the higher return over investment. So this would be taken as an example of a success case to contage the other teams, the other product, the other value chain. So this first value chain would be selected using these variables that I mentioned. Next slide, please. After we select our value chain, we identify people from all the areas that support this value chain, and uh, select some of those who could participate actively in this new transformation team. Now, these people will become part of this transformation area. They will no longer uh, uh, they will no longer be in their business area itself, but they will be part of our new transformation team. Okay, so they will respond to a new boss. They will respond to a new budget, and they'll be totally empowered to the goals of their area, but they will not respond to their past bosses. Okay. Uh, Next slide, please. So, what are those roles? We have UX design, as I mentioned. UX design are the experts on customer experience, on user experience. They usually have good skills drawing and applying colors and designing solutions and how the applications look like, the look and feel of the application. Okay. Then we have the architect, that is the person of the role that have the 360 vision to the future of the application of the solution, how the solution will better integrate with legacy systems, which new standards or better practices of architecture can we implement, and which are according to our IT maturity level. It's next slide, please. Then we have the automation, the quality automation developer. That is the person that, as the name says, automates all the tests. Okay, so they ensure the quality of the code by automating the tests. So human error is minimized to the closest to 0%. If we can automate all the tests, then we're ensuring that if we introduce a new change in our code, we will have a report of what is impacting this change, and we will have to fix those tests in order to continue ensuring the quality. Then we have the developer that will be preferably will be a full stack developer. It's a person that can develop not only one front but the other as well. We talk about front end, back end, and maybe some skills as in QA as well. This new role, DevOps, which actually not too new. It has some years over the market, but it's lately implementing here in Latin America and more in Peru. I just get to know it a couple of years ago. So DevOps is the role who supports and ensures the stability of the environments, development environment, the integration environment, certification environment, production environment. So they automate the way an environment is built and all the process of the integration of the code and deploying, and they ensure the stability of these environments. The next slide, please. Then we have this more normal or standard roles. A Scrum Master is the role of a facilitator. The facilitator will help the team to perform better every day. Then we have the product owner that will be the represent of the business for the business in the team, and will work very closely with the Scrum Master to help the team achieve the goals. And we have a business analyst that will track the data of the results and the indicators of the application and the service. Next slide, please. So the cycle of development is two cycles actually working together: design thinking and agile. Design thinking and agile provides each other feedback constantly. That's why both circles are like fusioning in the graphic. We apply those two methodologies or mindsets to implement our digital transformation. Next slide, please. We apply end user validation every couple of weeks to have feedback, to have more flexibility to change, and to introduce new requirements or new features identified in these end user interviews. Next slide, please. We work applying the MVP concept. So an MVP is nothing more than a proof of concept. And when we don't know if an innovation solution will work, we apply this concept of implementing the lowest cost representation of this solution. So if we want to try if this knife if this knife solutions some need of our customers, we will be implementing only the first knife and not all the set of tools that we see in the right picture. Next slide, please. This concept is not like fixed, but it evolves in a long time. So you'll see we'll get to a point that there's no need to evolve anymore because the customer already has all he wants. So applying this concept also led us to not over implement things. So we work through design thinking. This methodology consists on 5 phases, but actually let's take a look to the concept first. Design thinking is focused on people's experiences with a center products or services. It applies design concepts to the feelings and thinkings of the people to design better solutions and more accurately aligned to the customer needs. So this methodology have 5 steps. One is empathy. I'm sorry, next slide, please. First of all, is empathy. Then we have definition, ideation, prototyping, and testing. The way the graphic is shown is because when we do empathy, we collect a lot of information, and when we do definition, we filter a lot of information. Then we collect a lot of information again, and then we filter, and we finally define the solution in the testing phase. Let's work a little bit in each step. So empathy applies techniques as the what, the how, and why that are actually the structure of this presentation. We also use the 5 why that consists on asking why is this happening 5 times until you get to the solution or the main reason, the root cause. We also have the interviews. For the interviews, in the next slide, we have some tips. You will have to To empathize a lot with the customer, you have to promote the storytelling. Let them share with you their feelings, and a good practice is to record all the interview in order to be able to review it once and again. Next slide, please. Definition. The next step will be definition. Definition applies the empathy map when you can graphic what the user feels, thinks, and says that it feels. You can define the problem plane as well, and ask how could we fix or how could we implement something that solutions something, some problem. Next slide, please. So this is an example of the empathy map. Okay, basically you collect all the data over there and use it as reference for other practices. Then we define personas. The next slide. Personas is nothing more than a profile of a group of people that you have interviewed. If you have interviewed like 50 people, they will share some common behaviors and likes and hobbies and something like that. So you have Mary or Paula that will represent 30, a woman in 30 at 30 years old that studies or that works in a marketing area, that likes going shopping, that likes going dancing and something like that. Another profile that would be Sam, that represents a 25-year-old guy that is at IT, a millennial that likes a lot using cell phones and stuff like that. So these personas will represent this group of people, so we can empathize actually looking at a name and a photo from someone. Next slide, please. Then we define the journey. The journey, we would understand how the customer feels along the whole experience with our services. This actually talks about feelings, not how we think they feel, but how they actually feel. Then we go to the ideation step. In the ideation step, we build a lot of ideas. We construct on each other ideas. We try to be like more idealistic thinking. We try to apply idealistic thinking. We imagine everything is possible. Okay. There are some of the practices we should use is applying time boxes that are like fixed kind of time. I don't know, for example, 5 minutes to define this a step, 5 minutes to the second step, and something like that. And also categorize and set all the ideas, because we don't know what we actually are going to need in the future. Then we define the future to be. Next slide, please. So the journey to be will born from this ideation process that we had in the last slide, and we will draft and draw this new journey, and we will represent with the post-its how they will how the customer will ideally feel in the future. Then we go to the prototyping phase, where we define the first version of our solution. And with this first version, low-cost version, we go to the customer and says, do you like it? What do you think about it? What will you improve? What things I am missing in this prototype? So this fast feedback lets you fail fast, and also fix your plan along the way. So you don't have to expend a lot of time and a lot of money getting to design the perfect buy store, so the customer to the end will say, no, I don't need that, or I don't like that. Next slide, please. So the prototyping provides you fast feedback, lets you identify key variables, and it's also considering the customer in all the process. so the customer feels like he's part of the process. Finally, we do the testing, and in the testing we have prototype feedback. We try to see the information from every angle. We provide to the user some alternatives to choose. So, okay, see, if you don't like this option, what would you change? Would you like if I do this, I take this other design? We like it in red or green? Is the screen too small, too big? So this way you help the customer to get more close of to what he really needs. And also you can reuse all the techniques that we already mentioned before. The definition of the first release, we already talked about it, so we can move forward to a couple of slides more. Some of the techniques used to prioritize the job, the work, would be the WSJF. This is a cost-driven prioritization technique that let us work in the first item with the lowest cost of delay, which what it means is that if I don't work in this item right now, it will cost me 2 or 3 more times in the future. So this helps you to have a better time to market, and also to understand the better moment to implement a certain feature. Next slide, please. Also, another way of prioritization is the Moscow prioritization method. It consists on the criteria that you look over there. Is also, it only has due reference to Moscow because of the letters of the city. Okay, so the must-have will be the features that would definitely have to go in our scope. They should have and they could and they would, as each word says, could be selected as the same criteria of the work. Then we have the voting prioritization process. It's very simple. You go to your team and say, so each one of you have 3 votes, and they should spend the votes as they want. So if I want to put my 3 votes in one feature, then I can do that. This will provide the idea or the concept that everyone is speaking, the prioritization of the features that we will working on. Then some other concepts as velocity and capacity. We can move a little forward to the next slide. Yep. So the difference between them are that velocity is historic reference based on the results of your previous iterations or your previous work. So if a team has been working in an average of 5 stories per iteration, then your capacity to the future, to the next sprint, you should expect to work, not to assign yourself no longer that 5 stories per iteration. But this is a reference, okay? So one is the reference from the past, and the other is the commitment that you will assume in the future. Also, capacity will provide you predictability, so that is the reason for the graphic in the screen. Based on your historic production, you can predict in which limit of time you will be delivering some solution. One thing to mention is that that Agile empowers that we should commit to or time or scope, but not both. Okay, so if we are committed to a scope, the time should be variable. If we are committed to the time, then the scope should be variable. Some KPIs that we can measure along the way. In the next slide, please. Some KPIs are scaling KPIs, active use KPIs, loyalty KPIs that measure satisfaction. It depends on the kind of solution that you're implementing, but it's really important for you to track these those indicators. Other techniques or tools, root cause analysis. Next slide, please. Some tech thoughts that will help the people in your new transformation team to standardize their knowledge. Some stand-ups for all kind of teams, not only technical teams but also business and design. Dependency maps to identify the key stakeholders to your success. Some team feedback, history breakdown, and other things. Okay, let's go a couple of further slides. So the scope should be flexible. In difference to a waterfall process, when the scope is fixed, for agile we have fixed the cost and the time, and the only thing variable is the scope. We don't put in risk the money that we'll spend our customers or our partners. We don't put it in risk as well the time, but we negotiate the scope that we will deliver in, ensuring the quality of the work. So the continuous delivery consists on, next slide please, delivering something every iteration, something of value. So this means that the list of requirements or features should be prioritized as we said before, and we should be working always in the main priority in that backlog, in that list. So every iteration we will delivering the highest value to the customer. How can we manage this continuous delivery? We can apply a Kanban program board or a Kanban board, depending on the size of the team, depending on the size of the team. Next slide, please. So that's like an example of the Kanban board, and we can track all those items that are on research and exploration that are not committed to implement, those items that are actually implementing and are committed to integrate to the solution, and those items that are deployed to the customer. Actually, I want to correct myself, that are deployed to the production environment, because the delivery to the customer is made by the release. Okay, we will be checking the concept a little further. Next slide, please. So in order to get to have continuous delivery, you should have a cross-functional team. They should have autonomy, mastery. They should be empowered, motivated. So we'll need to define the why, and we will get to there soon. The client's commitment is the client's commitment is also important, and the co-location as well. There's also some other practices as scrums. Next slide, please. The scrums allows us to coordinate between different delivery teams. The POC as well will provide the business the visibility they want to better improve their goals and align their strategy of reusing some of the people and aligning calendars and something like that. The communities provides you the standardized knowledge between the teams as well. So those are practices that impulses the continuous delivery. Next slide, please. When we talk about continuous exploration, we are talking about all the things that we do to become better each time, along the time. We're talking about redesign when needed. We're talking about code refactoring frequently in each iteration. We're talking about user testing and sprints for investigation, for research, for proof of concepts. Those practices are very important to remain predictable in the future. Next slide, please. continuous integration will provide you the delivery of the solution and the integration of your code in an automated way. So human error will be less constant, and it tends to disappear along the time. So if you implement continuous integration, you will be like being more near to the highest quality delivery. Next slide, please. There are some examples of not integration and continuous integration in the last graphic. So the definition, the build, and the test should be part of one iteration, and in each story, each task, each bug should have those three steps in each iteration, and we should not do like waterfall inter-iteration or waterfall intra-iteration as the graphic shows. Next slide, please. We can go now to DevOps. So DevOps is a role that has become really important in your organization. They provide the automation of the environments, as I mentioned before. The name comes from the development of operation or automatization of operation. They ensure the stability of the environments and automate them. This is not optional. If you want to become agile, you need to have DevOps as a role or as a skill in your team. Next slide, please. There we show some of the responsibilities of the DevOps. Deploy certification on each iteration, automate deployment, and others. Next slide, please. So we were talking before about deploying and releasing. So we can deploy every sprint. Each sprint we should be deploying some delivery value to the customer, but there's no need to the customer to see. We can apply a strategic thinking and a grouping, a set of features according to some categories as security, as functionalities categorized by users, or big packages of solutions and new modules. So if we want our customers to have one new feature every month, we can define a release every month. If we want security updates to be delivered according to law, we should define them on demand and something like that. So a release is not a deploy. A deploy is every sprint, and maybe more than one time per sprint. Release is based on amplification, and as the graphic says, as the slide says, there's a lot of planification previous to launch a release. You need to coordinate non-functional requirements. You need to integrate with other systems and test the whole solution works. You need to coordinate the regulative and standard requirements, etc., and also some documentation. Okay, let's move forward. One final tip is to not forget to celebrate each iteration achievements. Okay, it's really important to celebrate the small goals, the small achievements, because this will provide motivation to the team, to every team. Let's remember as well that this is a team sport, and success is a team sport. And if we want to implement culture and agile culture, you will need to think as a team and provide them what they need to become better each time. So finally, we'll go to the why. So people is motivated by more intrinsic aspects. It's the main motivator is not only the money, but also the purpose. So we need to define which is the purpose of our organization, of our new transformation team, which is the impact that we will cause in our society. For example, when we work at the BCP Bank, we were talking about changing the way the people see the banks. Okay, right now I'm working with an insurance company, so we want to change the health of the people. So this higher purpose lets you, as a person, as an individual, and also as a team, to understand your work is impacting something more than just an application, because an application is something that any programmer can do. But the higher purpose is the one who set up the vision, the mission of your of the core of your reason to be working on this solution. It's important for any new area to understand that. And some examples for that. Can we watch the next slide, please? Some of the examples for that would be Wikipedia, Linux, that are Atlassian, that are organizations without some economic like payment. They don't pay employees. They're open source. Anyone can write code. Anyone can upload information. Anyone can share knowledge and scale agile as well. And they empower those things. So what is the reason for that is the purpose that they have defined, and how people identify with them, and they work because of they want to work with them and not because they pay them. So if we work with someone because they can do the job, they'll work with you for the benefits you provide. Next slide, please. And the money that you pay them, okay? But if you work with people that believe what you believe, they will obviously give you their best. So this would be my final tip. Define your purpose at first. So every person that starts working with you in this transformation, identifying themselves with you and your team, and put their best effort in this high goal. And well, that will be all for me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Alexis. It's been a fascinating presentation going through kind of really every part of digital transformation. At this point, I want to open up for questions from the audience. If you have a question, please let us know. And you can ask a question one of two ways. Either type it into the chat box on the bottom right-hand side of your screen, or you can ask a question via Twitter using the hashtag DigitalBSF. And actually, during the presentation, Alexis, we had a couple of questions which came in whilst you were presenting. So perhaps I'll start with those questions whilst we're waiting to see if any further questions come in. The first question is, can you talk about, you spoke a bit about some of your experiences with digital transformation. Can you talk a little bit about some of the challenges you faced with that, perhaps in terms of, dealing with management, how you get people on board, how are there different challenges perhaps you faced in your experience?
Well, actually, the main challenge is to have every strategic level role involved in the transformation, because this as I mentioned before, this transformation doesn't work from bottom to up level, but the other way. And it's important that the people, the team, feel empowered and trusted to implement and to fail, and to learn of each failure, and to propose new things, and not to be scared from a high-level manager presence in a demo, or not to be scared of a sprint with no committed stories completed and something like that. So high-level, strategic level understanding of Agile is really important.
Okay, thank you. Excellent. Okay, let's just see if any further questions have come in. We have another question here, and that is, I think you probably touched a little bit on during the presentation, but what are some of the key technical skills that your team is going to need for the digital transformation?
It's more oriented to values than skills, actually. They will need to have some experience developing. That's definitely a requisite. It's definitely required, but it's more important the values of continuous knowledge, the flexibility to work, the teamwork, the understanding that the team level scope is more important than the individual scope or goals. Well, it's more oriented to the values, to the agile values than any particular skill.
Okay, excellent. Thank you. Again, let's just see if any further questions have come in. And actually, we don't have any further questions at this time. And I see we're at the top of the hour now, so I think it's probably a good time to bring the presentation to a close. Alexis, do you have any final thoughts that you want to leave the audience with?
I'm sorry, I didn't get you, Charles.
Do you have any final thoughts, any final comments that you'd like to leave the audience with?
Well, just to let you know, in any case, maybe you can share my contact for any particular question or consult, and I'm happy to be in touch with you.
Okay, excellent. And with that, I would like to thank everyone for taking the time to join us today, and a very big thank you to you, Alexis, for sharing your expertise and your knowledge with us today. It's been great to hear your insights. And as Alexis mentioned, if you do have any further questions which come to you, please do let us know. We're really passionate about what we do here at Bellatrix, so we're always delighted to continue the conversation. So please do reach out to us. A recording will be available within the next 24 hours, both on our website and also on YouTube as well. And with that, again, thank you very much for joining us, and I wish everyone a very pleasant rest of the day.